Good day. My name is Len Doobie. I'm a Sergeant Major, retired. I am the director of our Veteran Service Office and Military Museum here at Fusenage Park in Torrington. I'm also the commander of our American Legion Post number 38, located in Torrington. To my right, my right-hand man, Bud Atwood. Bud is the office manager for our Veteran Service Office and Military Museum, and he's also the financial officer of our American Legion Post number 38 here in Torrington. I'd like to do a little walking tour of this military museum. Its purpose? To recognize men and women of the Torrington area who have served throughout various wartime periods. In our first area here, we have weapons going back to the Revolutionary War. The flintlock rifle, as you can see, Revolutionary War. The cap and ball rifle, Civil War. The 1898 Craig, Spanish-American War. Moving into World War I, the 1901 Enfield. 1903 Winchester. British 303, two Japanese rifles, long and short. In the rear is a flintlock pistol. Going into our first cube here, Tony Cotticello, a World War I combat soldier. His main weapon was the M1 bolt-action Springfield rifle 30-06. Those are Tony's medals down there, his original dog tags, those round discs, 3 Purple Hearts for wounds received in action, 3 campaigns, and the first Connecticut Wartime Service Medal. As you can see, Tony is kitted up, ready to go. Most of them smoked corncob pipes, as you can see in his belt. Moving on down to the right is our World War II combat paratrooper. His name was Leonard Peanuts Serkey. He has a U.S. carbine caliber 30M1 semi-automatic shoulder weapon with a folding stock. That weapon went into the jump case when they jumped out of aircraft. He's kitted up, ready to jump, with the exception of his parachutes. Our next cube here is our Tuskegee Airmen, noted fighter pilots that were finally permitted to escort our military bombers during the end of World War II. Never lost a fighter plane, had a perfect record for protecting our bombers. Next to him is our tank commander, Joseph Landor, Sergeant First Class. Joe's medals are presented down in that case. He had 2 Silver Stars, 2 Purple Hearts. Those medals were presented to us when his widow left to live in California. Joe has a Thompson 45. That was the primary weapon that tankers had. And on the bottom is a captured British Sten gun. Moving on to the next frame is our Korean War combat Marine, Leo Nadu, and the rifle that he carried, which was very prominent also in World War II, the M1 Garand rifle, which was a 30-06. He has a captured Chinese rifle, automatic rifle. And Leo Nadu was a member of our military final honor squad, and unfortunately the last funeral he did, 2 weeks later, we were burying him. Also in the case is 2 Marine enlisted swords. Following him is a combat nurse from the Vietnam era. We had many combat nurses in Torrington, going all the way back to World War I. In the back is also some items from the Korean War for the MASH unit per se. Next to her, women of color. That was a woman's Army Corps, served in Europe. A photo of her down below. She lived on a Norfolk Road. The only whites in her organization were the officers, completely segregated, platoon, company, and battalion. Next to her, Josephine Hinman, United States Army Air Corps nurse, World War II. There's a photo of her as well. She's presently living in a nursing home in Torrington. Alongside her, a Navy petty officer who lived in Harrington, Betty Finelli, maiden name Betty Babe. She lived in Torrington, very supportive of our veterans organization. Her brother was the veteran service officer that I replaced some 13 years ago. And by the way, we're all volunteers. That is a stamp commemorating the women in the military service with the 5 branches of service. Next to her, that mannequin recognizes my wife that served during the first Gulf War. Desert Shield, Desert Storm. That's what we call chocolate chip camouflage uniform. Down in the middle, there's some water bottles from Saudi Arabia. To the right is the Haight Vineyards produced a wine bottle, Victory in the Gulf, that we still have some in the case here. Moving on down here, some of our early uniforms of our American Legion post. The female and the male, we did military final honors. We continue to do that as well. A 48 star flag. In the next cubicle here, that represents my uncle, a World War II combat cargo pilot. He flew 47s and C-46s over the hump. China, Burma, India, some of his personal artifacts down there. To the right of him, his crew chief, and at that time they all looked the same. Their hair was too long. They used to keep the brim of their hats up. Those that were fortunate enough had what was called a 45 caliber grease gun down there. Other than that, there was absolutely no armament on these cargo planes at all. There's a paratrooper's doll that was brought back by a paratrooper. And here's a little soldier in a World War II children's uniform. During World War II, they had army suits and sailor suits. My grandson, when he was small, said, "Grandpa, can you get me a uniform? I want to be in a parade." So I dressed him up, and they called him the Little Lieutenant. He is now in the Seabees, combat Seabees. He serves with the Marines. He's been to Iraq, Kuwait, and Afghanistan. This is my talking chimp. When I have children come through, I make them chirp. This lady gave me her father's military police uniform from the China-Burma theater as well. Moving on to the next cube is a Japanese sergeant, a Japanese mannequin with an original sword, army sword, surrendered when the petty officer with the Navy boat went into Tokyo Bay to pick up some Japanese officers. They were all bowing, handing over swords, so this petty officer took one and donated it to the museum. That is a Japanese long rifle you see in there, and also two other samurais. The Japanese helmet is up on top with a copy of the surrender document for the U.S. Missouri. Next to him is an Alpini. This is an Italian captain. The Italians fought with the Germans against the Americans during the invasion of Italy. And then when Mussolini was overturned, they switched sides, joining with the Americans to fight against the Germans. I have his Italian flag identifying him, and also an Italian carbine with a fold-out bayonet. That's also a Russian captured submachine gun. Here's our SS sergeant with an MP40 mock-up, with a North African pith helmet, some of his personal artifacts. Next to him is a Spanish soldier. Spain was supposed to be neutral in World War II, but Franco, the dictator, permitted them to join with the Germans as volunteers and fight against Americans. They were outfitted similar to a German. In his pocket, I have his ID card, his military furlough papers, and his train ticket for April 1944. He never caught the train. And like I said before, they use German-type weapons. Over here is our Connecticut Foot Guard drummer boy. The Foot Guard and Horse Guard of Connecticut is the oldest living operational military organization in the United States, formed in 1775. Below him is an original 13-star flag, vintage 1775, given to us by an elderly World War II veteran that was given to him when he was a young boy by the Daughters of the American Revolution. This is interesting. This is the 1st Connecticut Continental Army, the Battle of 1783. The British won the battle, but they named the town after the American officer Ledyard. That's where Ledyard, Connecticut came from. And this is a flintlock powder box. Next to him is an Air Commando. Air Commando Vietnam. This Air Commando happened to have served out of Thailand. And up on top is a World War II combat artilleryman, fought in the battles of Normandy, northern France, Rhineland, Central Europe, and Ardennes. He presently continues to do military funerals with us, providing services for deceased veterans. Next to him, this uniform recognizes Allied Airborne. He had American glider wings and also British glider wings. He was authorized to fly British gliders. Next to him, a combat paratrooper medic. 2 combat jumps on his jump wings, the invasion of Normandy and the liberation of Holland. A member of the 17th Airborne Division, a Technician 5, lived on the Winstead Road. Some of our lower mannequins here. This is an Army amphibious, recognized by the seahorse on his right-hand pocket of his dress uniform. Their jobs were mainly not only to bring in supplies with landing craft, but they were responsible for assisting on the beaches of the invasions, removing the wounded and the dead. Now, they were the only ones permitted to be on the beach, recognized by the white arch painted on their helmet, and also the Army amphibious. I have a helmet here. I will show you what it looks like. Unless, can you get that? Unless they were wearing that steel pot identified, they had to keep moving forward as infantrymen. Next to him is a Coast Guardsman, Navy, Marine Corps. This couple is very interesting. He was a sergeant in the invasion of Normandy. He wiped out a machine gun nest, saving some American soldiers, but he got wounded. They sent him back to the field hospital. They said, "Sergeant, we're going to patch you up, give you a commission, battlefield commission, and another assignment." He said, no, I want to go back with my boys. So they sent him back on the line. He got wounded again worse, and he said, "I better take that commission." They sent him to England. He met the nurse. They fell in love. They've been married 65 years. They live in Torrington. Next to him, Al Jean, a Bronze Star Medal for Valor. His wife donated this to the museum. We recognize him as well. Going up on top, a Korean War combat veteran, a regimental combat team, Al Formagione. Those are his awards: Combat Infantryman Badge, Campaign Medals for Korea, and Republic of Korea Presidential Unit Citation. Next to him, Vietnam Combat Veteran, 1st Cav, Meritorious, Army Meritorious Service, Medals for Valor, Campaign Medals per se. Above him is a guitar that was carried by World War II veterans throughout the campaigns. His wife donated that to our museum as well. You swing around up on top, we have a Browning automatic rifle that was carried extensively during World War II and Korea, and a Light 30 machine gun. These weapons are demilitarized, so they will not fire. In the glass cases are some of the personal items that have been donated representing men and women that have served throughout the Torrington area. We're very proud of this, but we're looking for larger quarters because we do not have the space to properly display all of these items. I'd like to take you outside of this room for a moment and just explain a couple other items. This is a painting that was done by one of our soldiers who also is a retired leather worker, works on shoes. Just as current today as it was in 1952 when this is painted. If you look at the upper left-hand side, that's Baghdad, Iraq. Look to the right, those mountains, that could be Afghanistan. In the middle is a nativity scene. That is just as current as if that was painted today as it was when it was painted in 1952. On this wall, we're very proud of a painting that was donated to us by the Salvation Army. That is a donut girl. Donut girls were sent as volunteers to France during World War I. All they had for material was enough wheat and other ingredients to make donuts, and they made donuts and served them to the troops. That's where they got the name Donut Girl. The Salvation Army has been helping our veterans since the Civil War, 1865. We're very proud to be part of their organization. They support us, we support them as well. And if you look around this room, you'll see there's various identities, veterans organizations that have gone out of existence. The Italian American War Veterans of Torrington. To your far left over here is my honor roll board of not only deceased members, there's some of them still alive, but it goes all the way back to World War II, people that I have known personally and put up there on our board. So that's basically it. We provide services to veterans and their families from the cradle to the grave. We're very honored to have been able to do that. We're all volunteers. No one gets paid. If someone would like a tour of our museum, we'd be more than happy to give them a tour. Also, they can tune in on Cable 5 on Wednesday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. We have a local veterans service program. I want to thank you for your time.